morning and happy Christmas. And I'm still trying to come to grips with the fact that this is Christmas. It's here. Last year it seemed to not be here at all. I think in London it was cancelled by Boris, and we had lockdowns and restrictions, and we had bits of Christmas but not all of it. But this year we're open for business, but it doesn't feel like Christmas is here. We haven't had that slow, long build-up, that long, incessant drive and advertising and everything else. I guess it's been there, but it hasn't been front and centre, at least for me. I had to go and meet someone at the mall the other day, and I walked around and looked at the Christmas decorations to convince myself that Christmas was near. And here it is. It doesn't feel like it does in the normal way. I haven't played at half a dozen carols by candlelight this year, one only. It feels strange, but there's something in this different way that I actually like. Because I think Christmas is not meant to be this whole big, huge event. It's meant to be a quiet, gentle thing. You see, in the story we usually read from Luke's Gospel, the story of Mary and Joseph, heavily pregnant, having to travel from Nazareth down into Bethlehem to register for a census. And there's no room in the inn, and they get a cattle stall, and she gives birth, and Jesus is in a manger. And we usually have that nice nativity scene with Mary, Joseph, baby in the manger, a couple of shepherds, and sometimes there's wise men, magi, and cows and sheep and whatever else. I don't know, maybe an angel above. A lovely sentimental scene that never quite exists in the story together, but it's nice. And I think for us, mostly that image of Christmas with the baby and everything looking nice and feeling good is the one that registers most. And yet, that's not really Christmas. I don't think it's what the heart of the story is about. I actually like John's Gospel, which doesn't have the Christmas story, but says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And in the fullness of time, the Word becomes flesh and dwells among us. Becomes flesh, becomes like us, in us, through us, and reveals the way of God in the world. God pitched tent and dwells among us, is one translation, one version. And that, I think, is what Christmas is about. It comes and it invades our lives in a good way. But it's in the sacred, in the wondrous, in the holy things, as our eyes are open and our minds conceive of a different way in the world. For me, the beginning of spring, when the black snakes are out on the track along the creek, and just watching these creatures sit there quietly or slither away, glowing in the sun, beautiful. Or the parrots that squawk and sing, or the cockatoos or the kookaburras, or the whipbirds or bellbirds, or the dog Nico licking my face or wanting to be patted or played with, who wants to show his love for us. It's sitting around a table with various people, family, friends, telling stories, remembering, laughing, or sharing the pain and struggle of life. Or struggling for some meaning or purpose, or what's this about? Sharing food together. It's in walking along the bush track and seeing the trees and the sky. It's recognising God is in everything, everywhere. That the reign of God is ever present. And when I register that, it's Christmas. Christ breaks into my life, and I experience the holy in my midst. It's always there, but I'm not always aware. And Christmas breaks in when I can see and start to believe, and then when I act differently, when there's some kind of transformation in who I am because of what I see and experience. And it draws me into a deeper life, a life of love. And when I see and believe and start to act differently, Christ is born in me, in here, in my being. And that is what Christmas is about. It's not for one day a year, as if 25th of December was the day, that's the only day Christmas can happen. It's every day, in every way. In the story that Luke tells, he names the big people, if you like, of the world. Caesar Augustus, King Herod, Quirinius was governor of Syria. But then there's high priests and other people who lead their nation. All of these people are there in the world. But the Christ child is not born to them, or in their palaces or temples or cities. The Christ child is born in Bethlehem, this lowly, insignificant place in the back blocks of Judea, and born to a lowly young woman, girl even, 12 to 14, betrothed to be married to Joseph, who does marry her, and who's a nobody in the world, neither of them. I mean, she is lowly and insignificant, powerless and helpless. And he isn't much more. And they're born in this nowhere place, this backward place. That's where the Christ child is revealed. And the people in Luke's story who hear this are not the world's powerful and mighty and wondrous. They're the outcast shepherds in the fields. They're the only ones who hear. Even the angels in the sky don't register off for anyone else. It's these shepherds in the field. In Matthew's story, it's magi, kings from a distant land who come sometime later. The locals don't get it. They know the traditions, but they don't know what's happened. This birth is not a big event. It happens when our hearts and lives are open to the way of God in everything. It's a slow opening of who we are. It's a slow opening of eyes and minds. Sometimes it's a quick and sudden thing. Sometimes it's in the midst of grief or struggle when we're brought down low and we think, what now? What do I do? What's it all about? Oh, God, help me. I've tried to do it all myself and I can't. Help me. Christmas is about God in us in this mysterious, wondrous way. And what Christmas says to us above all else is that God loves us. And that the way of God in the world is about justice and hope and life. The lowly like Mary are lifted up. And the powerful like Caesar Augustus brought down. Not reversing roles, but equal. We're brothers and sisters in this world, sharing life together with all the creatures of the world. And there's enough if we share, but not enough if we hoard and are greedy. It's about justice and love and hope and peace and truth and joy. That's the vision of God for the world. And that's what Christmas promises. And in Christmas it says God loves us. And that there's nothing we can do or say or think or be that will stop God loving us or make God love us more. We are beloved in God. And when we begin to acknowledge and receive that, Christ is born and Christmas comes. So I pray for you that Christmas will be a joyful, holy, peaceful, loving time. And that in the midst of the busyness, in the midst of all the tinsel and lights and glitter and gifts and parties and anything else, There'll be a moment or moments when you behold the grace and wonder of God, the sacred in the midst of all of this, in the face of a baby or a child, in the licking of a puppy or a dog, in the stories shared of laughter and tears, in the moments of wonder, when you look at the night sky and see the stars and know that the universe in its infinite distance and unimaginable size. Or think about the world around when you see the blue sky and the sun and the trees, the wonder of the world that we live in, and appreciate it and live into that moment. May God be with you. May Christmas come and Christ be born in you, not just on the 25th of December, but in every day. God be with you.